Hey y'all, it's Joe, just Joe, and I am going to be doing a collab today with James, TBLMUA. We are going to be doing the palette tag, which was originally by Samantha March and Allie Glines. I'll link their videos below. I'll also link James's video below and to post it. And, well, let's just get into the video. If you don't mind, like, comment, and subscribe. So, our first category is our newest palette. And for me, that would be the Essentials 2. This was actually in the August 2020 Boxycharm. And shockingly, even though we're almost at the end of August, I have not purchased a palette. So, this is the color story. Actually really enjoyed using this palette, and I was glad to receive it in Boxycharm. The next is my oldest palette, which was kind of hard because I do have some memory problems, but I think I've got it down to the Zulu by Juvia's Place. I really love the color story, which I did have older palettes. Isn't that beautiful? But they have been decluttered, so this is what is the latest in my collection right now. So the oldest is the Zulu by Juvia's Place. My most expensive palette, I didn't really know which way to go because I get my anything of a certain price range I get during the Sephora VIB sale or with coupons or Sephora or Ulta Cash. So I decided to take what the retail value was. So my most expensive would actually be the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. It's an amazing palette. I haven't got to play with it quite enough. It's one of those palettes that every time I touch it, I feel like I'm breaking off a little piece of gold. But, so I love the palette. I'm very glad that I bought it. Even though it took all the Sephora cash and I had to wait till the VIB sale. But that is my most expensive. My most affordable palette is the Wet n Wild Pac-Man palette. These are the colors. I actually got this palette based on the fact it was Pac-Man. It has some really good memories for me when I was young and played Pac-Man with my brothers and nephews. So that would be my most affordable. The everyday palette that I probably use the most, grab for the most, is the ColourPop Disney Midnight Masquerade palette. It's just, it's not really anything amazingly special. It's just a palette that no matter what you're wearing or where you're going, the color story is just amazing. You can pop several of those one and done shadows, or you can go for a more glamorous look with the glitter. If I'm in a hurry, I just need something to grab, I can grab this. I know I'll get a good look out of it. My most colorful palette would probably have to be, which I have a lot of colorful palettes, so this one was pretty difficult. I have neons and corals and reds, but the one that probably had the most diverse, colorful shades is the Jawbreaker by Jeffree Star Cosmetics. And yes, I did keep all the unicartons and sleeves and everything for all of my palettes. I'm a little strange. But this is the outside. And this is what she looks like on the inside. And I actually adore this palette and have played and wore this palette pretty close to more than any other palette. Pretty close. My smallest palette was actually, it was kind of hard too, but it's these three right here. These are the bento boxes, and I didn't really know if I should consider these palettes, but they do have a color story. I'll show you this one. This is the Orange Blossom bento box. There's like a champagne-y kind of glitter, kind of a orangey mango color shimmer, and then a brownish shimmer. Now I do have these bento boxes also. I do believe the box of this one got wet, or I would still have it. Some of them are all shimmers, some of them are mixed, some of them are matte. It just depends on your vibe. I love the Kaja formula. So I think it was hard because I do have some of the Natasha Denona minis, but I think these are smaller. But I'll just show you one of the minis so that you can kind of see. This is the mini star palette, and that is what she looks like. So it was kind of hard to know which one is actually my smallest because of the shape of the Kaja palettes. But these are my little bento boxes. My largest palettes, I had two of them. They're both Morphe. One is the 39S, Such a Gem. And that is what she looks like. I'm really into pinks and purples. I use this palette quite a bit. I love all the colors, but it is a hefty palette to have to take somewhere. But because I wear pinks and purples so often, and there is neutral tones in here, I can take this and be the only palette I take on vacation, and it will be all I need. And then I also have 39L, Hit the Lights, which it wasn't that long ago I got on sale. And I actually have not gotten to use this one yet. I will be using this in a New to Me Monday soon. It's a very beautiful palette. I love pinks, purples, and neons. This is like the perfect palette for someone with the color stories that I like. And those would be my two biggest palettes. My best memory is this Dose of Color Vindication palette. This palette is my first big purchase palette. It is not my most expensive palette, but this is my first really getting the makeup and picking a palette that is kind of midway costly, and my first big palette decision, if that makes sense. But I just loved the packaging. I loved the color story. I loved everything about this palette. And I have gotten a lot of use out of this palette and probably will never get rid of this palette. I won't use it forever, but it just kind of means something to me. It helped me come out of my funk and depression. I was kind of lost on who I was, and being disabled, sometimes you just start to feel useless and you don't have hobbies or you don't have this because your whole life has changed, and makeup and YouTube really started to help me find a place for myself again. And so when I decided that makeup was a good hobby and a good therapy for me, I wanted to make that first big purchase. Friendication is the palette I got. Now the palette that I think is worth the hype, which she's made other palettes that are now probably more worth the hype, if that makes any sense. But at the time, this palette was so talked about the formulas, about the price, and all these things, that it's going to be worth the price, and it's all this life-changing formula and everything. And I had several friends who had actually got this palette for one particular shade, which actually drew me in also, and that's the Pat McGrath Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction. And this is the outside packaging, which can't be beat. I mean, you just can't beat this type of packaging. And then there's the inside, name card, and these are those shades. I wish it would pick up better on camera. I don't know if you can see the shifts to those, but this was so talked about amongst people I knew, and people were gravitating toward this when the Mothership line came out. And I gotta tell you, it was worth the money, worth the hype. It's worth every bit of everything that everybody said. I would not take back all the saving of Sephora cash and waiting on the VIB sale. I love that palette, and I will probably take it to my grave. Not worth the hype. This is kind of probably an unpopular opinion for the time it came out. Now, right now, everybody's up and mad at this company, but at the time, most people would have said this is, maybe even put this in worth the hype category, but it's the conspiracy palette. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually love this palette. I think it's a gorgeous palette. I do not think it is up to the standard that all the series and everything led it to, I guess, for me. Just because I can't just do anything with this palette. It's got all the colors I love. I love the middle row. I love the neutrals. I love everything about it. But it was so hyped up. I think that if it would have been a regular release, I would have said this palette was worth the hype. It's amazing. But to do a whole series on it, having the world watching YouTube, it wasn't worth all of that to me personally. And then my favorite palette. And this is probably, I don't know, it may be an unpopular opinion. These palettes I don't think are talked about that much anymore. But it's just a color story that I enjoy, and I really enjoy the formula of this company. And that is Lime Crime's Venus XL. Get it out of the packaging so we can get the reflect off. This is the front of the package. And pinks and purples, man, they get me every time. This is that palette. I just feel like even if you needed a neutral look, even though there's pink tones in most of these colors, that there's enough of the brown in the pink tone, or the maroon shade would go well enough. It just would go with any outfit to me. But I'm a pink girl, so. And then last but not least, my most used palette, which may be a shocker to some that don't see me in real life every day, because my YouTube videos, you know, you don't necessarily always put on your favorite eyeshadows. You put on new palettes or the in palette or whatever it is at the time. But this I have had for quite some time, and it is probably, I mean, it's hard to tell. I have so many palettes, but it's got dents in all of the shadows. I love these corals. I love the yellow. I love the shimmers. I love this palette. And I'm a huge fan of the Violet Voss formula. I know with Violet Voss, a lot of people are either they dislike it or they love it. I'm a lover. I love that. I love the Violet Voss Coral Crush, and I love her other palettes too. Now, again, this is a collab with James, TBLMUA. I will have his channel and his video linked below. I will also have Samantha March and Allie Glines palette tag video linked below. And tell me in the comments, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like these palettes? Do you hate these palettes? What is your favorite palette? What's your most used palette? If you had to run out of a burning building with one palette, which one would you pick? Comment that down below. And while you're there, go ahead and like and subscribe. Might as well. Helps me out. Gives you your good deed for the day, which is bonus points in heaven, or whatever you believe. So send a little good karma. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next video. I love you guys. Make some good decisions. Stay safe. And hugs from Tennessee. Bye, guys.